Hello everybody, welcome to the Old School Games Knob channel. Today I thought I would put together a newcomer's guide to Diablo 2. Disclaimer, even though this video was made using Diablo 2 Classic Engine, all of the things I'm going to say apply to Diablo 2 Resurrected. Diablo 2 Resurrected is actually a graphical upgrade running over the same classic engine as Diablo 2 Classic. So don't worry if you're watching this for Diablo 2 Resurrected, everything here applies. This guide is going to assume that you haven't played Diablo 2 before. If you have played Diablo 2 before, if you're a returning player, this video, I dare say, is going to seem rather basic and rather boring. It's probably not the video for you. This video is sort of hoping to cater to the, I hope, onslaught and slew of new players that join the game for Diablo 2 Resurrected. Hopefully, I'm thinking that's what's going to happen. This is an amazing game, and I just can't see it not getting a lot of popularity and really catching on. Anyway, so you're a new player to Diablo 2. This is your first decision. What class do you play? There are a couple of good selections, and there's a couple of more difficult selections for a new player. I initially started playing the Barbarian. That is not necessarily a good first player class. I remember I actually played the Barbarian my very first try playing Diablo, and I had a very hard time even beating Act 4 on normal difficulty. I had a really hard time. The Necromancer, again, as a new player who's trying to learn the various skills and abilities, I also had a really hard time with the Necromancer. I eventually switched over to my absolute first love of Diablo 2, the Sorceress. She's just a super fun class to play, very powerful, and it's an entirely different play style than compared to like a melee class with the magical elemental spells. The Amazon is also a very fun and friendly class, I would say, to newcomers. She can kite and range, and it's a lot of fun to shoot her bow. She's got some really fun skills as well. As for the Druid and the Assassin, and the Paladin is actually also a very popular class, but I'm not an expert on any of these classes. I'm really more expert on Amazon and on Sorceress, so I'm going to recommend my favorite class here, the Sorceress, and also, like I say, I think the most friendly and absolutely certainly powerful class to play, Sorceress. So let's choose our character. First off, you're going to need to decide if you want to play expansion, and if you want to play hardcore. I don't know if this is going to be in Diablo 2 Resurrected expansion or not. This basically just means that the whole game is available, including the Act 5 expansion. Hardcore, of course, means permanent death. When you die, your character dies and is deleted. Well, not deleted, but they die. They do not downgrade to softcore, such as in something like Path of Exile. They just die. You can't use them anymore ever again. So, well, if you're a new player, this is not the option for you. Alright, we're in the game. Welcome to Diablo 2, or Resurrected, I presume. You can probably figure this out without much explanation, but little exclamation marks over the NPCs mean they have something to say to you. The first thing you will probably want to do is head on over to talk to Akara, and she will give you your first quest. To find the Den of Evil. I'm not going to walk you through all the quests or anything like that, but I am going to play some of the game to sort of give you an idea of the various mechanics behind the game. Akara, of course, will have things to buy and sell. You don't have any gold, so you don't need to worry about that too much just yet. Let's start by heading out into the Blood Moor, and we'll start killing some monsters. Initially, you can use your melee weapon, and it's decent enough. You can also, as a sorceress, use your Firebolt spell. You will find your mana is rather limited initially in the game, so you'll probably be doing a bit of stick whacking. Things like Strangling Gas Potions may not seem all that useful, and you probably won't necessarily use them as an offensive weapon, but they do actually have a bit of sell value. And so initially starting out, well, you have no gold, so anything you can sell that's worth a little bit of gold, can be useful. As a new player, you'll also notice your stamina drain rather quickly. Later on in the game, this won't be any problem whatsoever, but early on, you can mitigate stamina drain by switching to walk mode. That's the R button on your keyboard, run, walk. Running will drain your stamina pretty fast, and the thing is, if you run out of stamina entirely and you're surrounded by monsters, that could be a bit of a bad place to be in. So you probably want to allow your stamina to recharge kind of as it gets down low a little bit. Make sure that you're not entirely drained when you're trying to get away from enemies. This is less important in softcore mode. In hardcore mode, this is very, very important. So down and to the left and right, you will have your left button and your right mouse button. You can click to expand and assign a different skill to the left or right mouse button, depending on what you want your main skills and abilities to use. You can also head on over into the options and configure your controls so that, for example, you have different skills. It's different skill assignments. So I have my skill 1 is A, S, D, F, Q, E, 9. You can kind of set whatever keys you want to use for your different skill assignments. And then what you can actually do is click to open up your skill, and then I might press F over top when my mouse is hovering over top of one of my skills, and now I have set my fireball skill, or my firebolt rather, skill to the F key. And here I've got my town portal key. I like to set that on my control key, so I just hit control on that. And now as I'm running around, if I want to toggle my town portal, I just hit control, and as you can see down here, the town portal is open, and now my right mouse button will open a town portal. Now I press F, and now I'm shooting firebolts again. So that's a handy way to quickly switch around your skills. When you hit your first level, you'll see a little bit different graphics than this in Diablo Resurrected. It'll be a little more obvious, but you'll want to decide what skills and what statistics, or rather stats, you want to assign some points to. As a sorceress, if you decided to go with sorceress after all, as a sorceress, I could probably recommend warmth being a good first skill, since mana is really a problem initially starting out, and warmth will help you to recharge your mana a bit. You currently have your firebolt spell given to you by your staff, so you might just want to put a point into that and make that a permanent fixture in your resume. I actually like to start out with a charged bolt and just kind of keep pumping points in the charged bolt. I'm not going to specifically get into builds in this video for new players. I might do that in a different video also. I'll just kind of touch on it. Skills in the charged bolt actually are pretty effective through normal mode of Diablo, and what you can actually do through each difficulty, you will be given a reward to reset your character's stats and abilities for each difficulty level of Diablo: Nightmare, Normal, and Hell difficulty. So in total, you'll be given 3 character reset options. So what a lot of players like to do is level up with a sort of, let's say, easy leveling build, and then once they're ready to create a more finalized version of their character, they'll reset their stat points and create a more finalized version. So initially, as you level up, you can kind of take skills that you want to test and experiment with, and that's highly recommended. I mean, it's the only way you learn how things do what they do, right, is by experimenting. So don't be too afraid to experiment and learn and try different things. You can channel, of course, multiple points into the same ability to make it more and more powerful as you go. But basically, you will probably eventually do a reset, and so don't worry about what you assign your skills to and stats to too much just yet. Diablo does let you do a couple of resets. That being said, you are limited to a finite number of resets, at least as far as the current build goes. They may be adding more resets as time goes on. I've heard rumors about that. But for now, I know you have at least 3. Beyond that, I don't know. So you don't want to use your resets willy-nilly. But at the same time, you don't need to worry about your decisions too much, because you do have a couple of resets. Like I was saying before, potions have a decent sell value, 480 gold for that strangling gas potion. One of the first things you'll probably want to buy is a Tomb of Town portal. Now this may seem a bit expensive to start, but it's just so critical to gameplay. When you do buy a Tomb of Town portal, be sure to rebind your key from the Scroll of Town portal to the Tomb of Town portal, and this just lets you teleport back to town more easily. The Tomb of Town portal can be opened anywhere. With a quick click of your mouse, you'll be back safe. You can sell, you can buy, and then you can return to the last place where you town portaled from. Being quick on the town portal can also be a great, oh shit, I'm gonna die, something save me please, let's get out of here sort of technique. So just keep in mind that's your safe haven sometimes if you're in a bad situation. Well, I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is the Den of Evil. Yep, pretty sure. Okay, this is the source, this is the location of your first quest. Head on into the Den of Evil, and the goal here is to kill all the monsters. What a nice, simple, easy, and fantastic initial goal. The Fallen will continue to resurrect over and over and over again until you kill the shaman. So kill the shaman first. Once he's down, then you can deal with the Fallen themselves. Like I say, they run away, so you don't need to worry about their seemingly intimidating numbers because they're not too brave. We'll talk more about your potion belt in just a minute, but you can swap out which potions you have in your potion belt thusly. When you start the game, you'll only have one potion row, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. As you kill monsters, they will drop items. Holding down the Alt key will highlight the item on the ground. You can click it and pick it up. One of the first items you're likely to find is a sash. This is actually more useful than it seems. As you can see, by equipping this sash, I now have a second row for my potions, which means I can load up twice as many potions, which means I don't have to make as many town trips back. Eventually you can get up to 4 rows of potions with better and better belts and sashes and yep, that's what you can do. The show belt button is kind of useful. The tilde key, I believe, is the default. If you tap that, it'll open up your potion belt of rows, and you can see just how many potions you have left in there. Typically, the hotkeys for potions are 1, 2, 3, 4, but you can also selectively right-click on a potion to drink it if you so desire. Blue items on the ground are magical items. You cannot equip those until they have been identified. If you see a yellow item on the ground, that is a rare item. It's actually even more powerful than a blue magic item. And if you happen to see sort of a light-colored bronze item on the ground, that is a very special find. That is a unique item, and they can be very, very powerful. If you see a green item on the ground, that is a set item, which is also a very special find. It can also be very powerful. Set items typically work well in groups. I'll talk more about those a little bit later. Sometimes in the game you'll see a monster that looks a little different than the rest, and mousing over the monster will reveal a unique name. Be careful, these are special boss monsters. They are more powerful than their counterparts. They will also have a pack of minions along with them, which will also be somewhat more powerful than their regular counterparts. They also will drop some of the best loot in the game, so they can be both dangerous and also rewarding. The other type of item that you will encounter is an ethereal item. These are typically stronger than their non-ethereal counterparts, however they cannot be repaired, so once they have been damaged beyond repair, that's it, they're done, you can't use them anymore. These are useful in later game special circumstances, which I will not be covering in this guide, but in brief, if you give your mercenary, which you can hire later on, an ethereal item, it will actually not take damage, so that can be one of the advantages of ethereal items. In the game, pressing W will switch your active weapon, so you can have a different type of weapon in each of the different active weapon slots. In this case, I'm equipping a javelin and my regular staff, and I can swap between the two very easily just with W. Now, if you have enough gold to do so, when it comes time to buy more portal scrolls for your Tomb of Town portal, instead of clicking many times with your right button, you can hold down the shift button and right click, and this will fill up your town portal to its maximum of 20 scrolls. I didn't have enough gold to do that, so I couldn't do that. The same applies for identify scrolls. Shift and right click to fully fill up your Tomb of Identify, which I do not currently have. You can do the same with keys. You can also do the same with potions, mana potions and health potions, and what that will do is actually refill all of the slots in your belt, not your actual inventory backpack, but your belt slot. Here we go, I'll sell my mana potion and show you how that works. Right click, and yeah, I'm just so poor, that's the best I could do. Now when it comes time to level up, you can assign some stat points in your stat point screen, your new stats. You will have the option of energy, vitality, dexterity, and strength. Now, strength for spellcaster is really only used to equip armor, weapons, and various other things. So a good rule of thumb is to only give yourself enough strength to wear the equipment that you want to wear. As for dexterity, as a spellcaster, you really don't need it except for in niche builds, but for other melee class characters, dexterity will increase your attack rating, and your attack rating will affect your chance to hit your target, so dexterity becomes rather important. For melee characters such as the barbarian, strength will affect how much damage you do, and vitality will affect how much life you have. It will also affect how much stamina you have. I believe, what is the ratio here? The ratio is 2 to 1. So for every 1 point you assign to vitality, you get 2 points of life. Energy is just like vitality, except it affects your mana. Every 1 point of energy you give your character, you get 2 points of mana for that. What should you assign these stat points to initially? Well, initially you could perhaps assign them to your mana if you find yourself needing more mana as a spellcaster. You could give yourself a few points of vitality, just get your health points up a little bit. There will be lots of other ways to raise your health as well, so you don't need to worry about that too much, but it doesn't hurt to get your vitality up a bit to make you a little bit more survivable. It doesn't hurt to get your mana up and make you more survivable. Strength and wearing equipment as a sorceress is not too important, but you will probably want to raise that up a bit to be able to use perhaps a shield or perhaps a better belt with more potion rows. A little bit of armor never hurts either. It gives you a bit of defense rating. So in Diablo, the way that armor works is by creating a chance to evade attacks, straight up evade attacks. It doesn't reduce damage taken, but instead you will either get hit or you will be missed. So if your defense is high enough, you will be missed when you take a melee or a ranged attack. The game will show you what your chance of being hit is depending on the last monster you engaged, and you can see how your defense rating stacks up. At this early point in the game, only 6 points of armor really does a pretty good job of protecting me, which is, you know, pretty crazy. Later on in the game, your defense rating will be in the many thousands of points, but earlier on, that's where it's at. Fire resistance, cold, lightning, and poison resistance. These affect how much damage you take from these different elements. In normal difficulty, this will not be too much of a consideration, but as you move on to Nightmare and especially Hell difficulty, these will be extremely important. This guide is not necessarily going to talk too much about resistances, but in a nutshell, you can get up to 75 points of resistance, and if you have 75 points of resistance, that means you take 75% less damage from fire. Now, it is actually possible to increase your maximum fire resistance even beyond 75, but that's sort of a special item characteristic which I will not be covering in this guide. For the most part, 75 is going to be where your resistance is capped out at, and 75 is also very good. If you have 75 resistance, you're going to be very well protected against damage from the elements. Okay, so I think that covers the stat page in a nutshell. As you level up, you will also get to choose new skills, assigning 1 skill point per level. As you progress through the game, there will be opportunities to earn additional skill points from completing quests and that sort of thing. I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly, but I think you might get an additional 12 points of skill throughout the game, but that I might be off on that, I can't remember exactly. Typically, though, you'll gain 1 point per level. You might, if you're having a very successful Diablo career, level up to 90. That would be quite a high level, or 92 or 93. Characters beyond that level become much more rare, as leveling becomes very slow the higher level you get. So you can kind of expect to work with about, let's say, 90 to 110, no, 90 to 105, 10, yeah, 90 to 110 total skill choices altogether. So when you're planning your build, just be aware that that is about as many skill points as you will ever have to use. Now, in a nutshell, you can assign up to 20 points into each individual skill that you want to use. The more points you assign into a skill, the more powerful it will become. Typically, builds might look something like, for example, Frozen Orb Sorceress would have 20 points in Frozen Orb. I almost forgot to mention that skills also have synergy skills. So something like Frozen Orb, for example, as you can see, gets 2% additional cold damage per level from the Ice Bolt skill. So if you really wanted to max out your Frozen Orb damage, you would also max out your Ice Bolt skill. You would also potentially max out your Cold Mastery. And so now you have a total of 60 points which have been assigned to the Cold tree. So even though 100 points or so might seem like a lot, what you typically end up doing is choosing a few skills, 1 or 2 skills, and then maxing them out and maxing out their synergies. You also have to unlock certain skills in order to be able to use certain skills. So for example, you can just kind of follow the arrows, and as you can see that in order to get Frozen Orb, I have to unlock Ice Blast, Glacial Spike, Blizzard, and I also have to unlock Frost Nova. After I do that, I can unlock Blizzard. I can pick up Frozen Armor whenever I want, but in order to get Shiver Armor, I have to unlock Ice Blast as well. In order to get Chilling Armor, I have to unlock all of those things. So you can just kind of follow the little paths that let you know which skills you have to unlock in order to get to the final skills. The Mastery skill requires no train to unlock, but you must be at least level 30. And that's actually another thing to keep in mind. These skills become available to you when you reach the required level 6, level 12, level 12 is usually also one of this, level 12, level 6, level 24, and then level 30. Like I say, as a new player starting out, it doesn't hurt to just try different skills and see what they do. And keep in mind that skills that may seem like sissy and wimpy to start, put 10 or 20 points into them and suddenly they become absolute murdering beasts. Just to give you a quick example of what I mean, here's Inferno at level 1. And here's Inferno at level 20. Here is Charged Bolt at level 1. Here is Charged Bolt at level 20. Well, I don't have enough mana. So anyway, as you can see, not just the damage increases, but the spell effect sometimes increases as well. That is not true for every spell, but that is true for some spells. So it's something to keep in mind that a wimpy looking spell might get better with more points into it. In the game, you will encounter a fellow named Geed. Geed will offer you the opportunity to gamble. Don't do it. Gambling is the devil. Oh, hang on a sec now. What's the name of this game again? Diablo? Okay, actually, I think we're fine to do some gambling. When you do gambling in Diablo, you will have the opportunity to find magic, rare, and sometimes unique items at the cost of some gold. So if you find yourself with lots of extra gold later on in the game, this is not going to be a problem to start with, but later on in the game you'll have lots of extra gold, and this is a good way to potentially turn that gold into a super rare and valuable item. There's a lot of guides on gambling, which I'll probably do one later, specifically how to gamble for good items. But this is actually one technique that players sometimes like to use to find those super rare and difficult to find items. It's not easy though. Nothing in this game is easy when it comes to the elite endgame items. I'm not even going to get into how hard that is. We'll talk about that one day. When you swap weapons, for example, to a bow or a javelin, let me show you really quickly how I'm going to change my javelin to throw, and now I'm going to change back to my staff. When I change back to my staff, it goes back to the spell or the skill that was last active with that weapon. When I switch to my javelin, it goes back to the skill which was last active with that weapon. So in this way, you can actually keep your javelins ready to throw more easily, or whatever it is that you want in your second weapon skill slot active skill. Incidentally, the javelin is actually a very powerful early game item with quite a lot of damage output. It's great for taking down stronger bosses. It's not that the bosses you're going to be encountering are too strong, but relatively speaking, it's a good starting weapon. When you run out of javelins or when your armor gets damaged, you can replenish the supply by heading back to camp, and in this case our local blacksmith is Charcy, and repairing your items will also well, I'm poor. I forgot I'm poor. Well, anyway, repairing your items will also replenish your javelin supply. When you pick up potions from the ground, they will automatically go into your potion belt if you have space for it in there, otherwise they will go into your inventory. Rejuvenations can be very helpful because the difference between a rejuvenation potion and a healing potion is that a rejuvenation potion acts instantly. As soon as you use it, it will replenish 35% of your life, or in case of a full rejuvenation potion, which you'll find later, 100% of your life, and mana. Healing potions and mana potions actually work on a healing and mana recharge over time. So you drink your healing potion and your health will start to recover faster instead of healing instantly. Rejuvenation potions heal you and recover your mana instantly as soon as you press the button, so they can be great in life-saving situations. In case you haven't found it already, the tab key is your friend. The tab key brings up your mini-map, and well, you'll probably be using it a lot. In Diablo, the waypoints that you'll encounter in the different areas of the world act as sort of like your save points. When you activate a waypoint, it will become available from the local town's waypoint, and you can return to that location at any time that you want. This actually acts as a nice save system if you're playing the game for the first time through and you want to take a break. It's a good idea to have a waypoint established, because when you log in again the next time, if you don't have a waypoint to the location where you left off, then you'll have to run all the way back there again. In the early game, stamina potions can be your friend, especially when dealing with stamina running low from running around too much. If you have enough gold to keep a couple stamina potions handy, this can be a great way to save your character from running out of stamina when he or she is being chased by a pack of monsters. The more you play, the more you may start to discover, especially in the early game, that potion chugging is just sort of a name of the game. You will drink a lot of mana potions, and you will probably drink a lot of health potions too. That's okay. You don't need to stand around waiting for your mana to recharge. As long as you have enough gold to keep the mana potion supply coming in, then yeah, just drink, chug, chug, chug. That's also why a nicer, bigger potion belt is also helpful, so you can just feed that mana potion addiction. There are certain items that you may discover in Diablo which have quite high sell values. Scepters are often amongst those, wands, staffs, and other such things. You'll sort of start to realize as time goes on that certain items are very worth picking up for gold, and other ones are not really so much. You can see here the value of a bow, 50 gold, the value of a scepter, 2,200 gold. If you're playing a melee or ranged class like the Amazon, you will find some chipped rubies, chipped sapphires. These can be very useful to hang on to and to put into socketed weapons. They add quite a bit of damage for your level, relatively speaking, to your weapon. And they also have some interesting effects, like the sapphire, which adds cold damage, also slows your target down when you hit them. So yeah, these chip gems are generally worth hanging onto and putting into your socketed weapons early on if you're a melee or ranged type class. You will find socketed armor pieces as well, and your gems can be also very useful in that regard. Popping in a gem to a helm, for example, in this case gave it a 10 mana bonus, so it's actually a fairly decent little bonus at my current level. You can sometimes put 2 gems into a piece of armor, or sometimes even 3 and 4. So yeah, keep in mind when you're leveling up your new character, pay attention for gems, armor pieces, weapons. They can be a very nice helpful boost. When you complete the second quest, you will be gifted with the assistance of a mercenary. This mercenary will be your helpful and loyal companion. You can hire a different mercenary if you'd like. You have the options between cold and fire arrow rogues. In later acts, you will be able to choose different types of mercenaries, from paladins to barbarians to spellcasters and so forth. I highly recommend that when you get your rogue mercenary that you give her a nice bow. Her damage will increase substantially by giving her a bow, and she's actually going to be a fairly powerful little ally. You can actually also equip her bow potentially with some socketed gems if you have a bow which has some sockets available in it, and if you don't, you can usually find a nice socketed bow by visiting Charcy, the blacksmith. If Charcy the blacksmith doesn't have a socketed bow available for you, all you need to do is leave town through the waypoint that you probably have now, come back, and that will refresh her inventory. Then you can shop her again and see if she maybe has the bow available that you're looking for. Look at that, there's a nice socketed bow. I'll pop a nice gem in that. Let's see what that gets my mercenaries damage up to, from 2 to 7 all the way up to 5 to 14, and now suddenly my mercenary is actually going to be a pretty reasonable force to be reckoned with. Anyway, I think we're going to wrap this video up here. This is getting to be upwards, I think, of half an hour, so I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you'd like any expanded guides on any other topics. I'm going to be releasing Diablo content pretty much daily, couple times a day. I'm pretty much on a fervorous content creation spree here, so highly anticipating the release of Diablo Resurrected. So yeah, like, subscribe for more Diablo content. Also check out the link in the description below to join the Old School Game Snob Discord channel. We are going to be meeting up and doing some Diablo Battle.net online multiplayer when the game drops on the 23rd, so join the fun. We're going to have a great time, and yeah, hope to see you all in the next video. Take care.